I'm a chief content officer, and I was fortunate enough to be on the executive committee at my last company. I oversaw 500 employees, and the company that I worked at was 24 hours a day. It was a live television network. So my career is in production, talent, creative services, brand development, and I love everything I've done in my career. As a senior leader, I had unfortunately been involved in things like layoffs at companies where we offered outplacement services to employees. When it was happening to me and my company was acquired, I honestly didn't know what to expect. And so I just kind of went to the meeting. I was on the executive committee at my last company. I went to the meeting with the other executives, which was funny. And it was very humbling because we all walked into a room together where we were going to find out about a service to provide kind of our next phase in our careers. Not only did I think that Right Management did an amazing job of kind of giving us the architecture of how this process worked, but the empathy and the kind of kind hearts and open minds that we were met with made me feel really great and kind of intrigued about the outplacement process. That initial meeting where I met, in this case with Right Management, I connected with the people. I was amazed at the level of service that we would get. I found myself thinking, like, what a gift, what a nice thing that this company that I was working for was gonna provide this as a soft landing for us. After that initial meeting, we had a meeting with our one-on-one coach where it went into a lot more specifics on how we would move forward individually, and I found that to be very satisfying. I don't think people realize as executives how used to that level of structure you are, and I found it to be really valuable to just know, okay, if I take this first step, then this second step will happen, and before I know it, I'll be on my way to finding my next opportunity. And I really, really, truly felt the outplacement process helped me in a time where I was feeling really overwhelmed and like a small child starting kindergarten, where I just didn't know what thing to do first. The program has a lot of structure, and at a time in your life where you're really feeling overwhelmed by the abyss of the potential of not working, I found that structure to be very helpful. So I was matched with a coach. The coach was a perfect match for me, the right balance of assertive, getting me to do the task that was next, and also emotionally empathetic and understanding that this was all new to me. So I felt the unique part was that balance of that person knowing, today we need to push, you need to finish your questionnaire, you need to do your personal assessment. You need to write a list of the companies that are your dream companies, all things that create sort of guideposts. And I really felt that balance of how I was treated by the employees here and how important I felt to the employees at Right Management made me feel, if they believe I can do this, I feel like I can do this. And so, even when you're uncertain yourself, you just kind of keep taking that next step, and that structure helped me get through the process. Trying to figure out how can I reinvent myself and still use the things I'm great at was a new challenge for me, and one that my executive coach helped me with, because we talked about my skills and what makes me unique. We looked at my personal assessment, and we kind of came up with new ideas where if I wanted to stay in this region, how else could I use my skills? So during the assessment process, in hindsight, because of the time of my life when I was in process of leaving my last role, it was a tiny bit painful, because even though I consider myself someone who likes to learn and I love learning those kind of personality assessment tests, at that point you're so raw that I kind of in hindsight was dreading doing it. But when I got on the phone, not only was I amazed at the amount of detail that I was provided and the kindness from the coach and the team that assessed all of my questions, but it was a good, maybe the most pivotal moment in the process, because you start to have to go from, am I ever going to find a job, to, wait a second, those things are true about me. I do have some good qualities I can offer the world. This isn't the end of the road. I just have to be reminded of what makes me unique. And I felt that the personality assessment process was the first point in which I crystallized for myself what made me unique at that point in the journey. And it was very helpful for me to harken back on those key words as I kind of pursued the next couple levels in the process. My relationship with my coach has honestly turned into a friendship. She was so supportive and very kind to me. And then on the days where, like every executive looking for a job, you want an answer right now, people aren't responding to your emails, you're starting to spiral. She had that right balance of, okay, that's enough. We need to stay focused here. If you go down this vortex, you're going to jeopardize everything you've put into this process. And I often found that when I hung up with her, I felt like immediately better. She knew what she was doing. She had the context of other people in my position that had gone through this, and it was really reassuring. And as I said, I've now have a job, and I'm still in contact with her because she's just a really amazing resource. And I think we really did form a bond of appreciation, and I'm really grateful. Every employee here is like that. They all follow up immediately. They show great care. They have an amazing, vast skill set that I do not possess. Like, there's an amazing woman who helps you with your resume and helps you copyright it and make sure it's appropriately worded. And I was just blown away by everybody's expertise and seemingly unbelievable availability. I mean, you never don't get a response to an email within like an hour. So it's really quite a team. The way this process has benefited me personally is pretty astronomical. I think almost daily, I think to myself, don't try and do everything. Let's just do the next thing. When you're going through the process of finding a new job, you just start to want to do everything at once. You want your resume right. You want to network right away. You want to make new contacts. You want to get on LinkedIn and make sure your profile is perfect. And really, you have to do one thing at a time. That sort of logical path has helped me since. Imagine your dream scenario. Then you could also assess when you started getting offers that maybe weren't right for you, but you were going to take them because you get nervous about not having a job. So it wasn't just about the architecture of getting a job, but making sure you tried to make the right decisions along the way. When I left my last company, I basically had two experiences. The first one was that I treated my partnership with Bright Management almost as if it was my job. I worked with my coach. I did everything that I was asked to do, and that kind of filled my time during a time where I was feeling a little anxious about not having work. Then I really started to enjoy my time off. And if I had one recommendation to someone leaving a job, especially if you're fortunate enough to receive severance, really enjoy it, because my life changed during that year. Not only because I had the feedback and honesty of my coach and the process to help guide me to where I should be, but I really enjoyed my time off in a way that as an executive, you don't get the chance to do. And I hear other executives anxiously jumping into another job. And I just wish that everyone would take the opportunity to just allow it to evolve you as a person. Then I was off work for almost a year. And while it was the best year of my life, by the end of that year, what was great about the year started to come back at me. My insecurities were growing. I was nervous. I wasn't going to find a job. I have children. I have responsibilities. And I started considering jobs that weren't great jobs for me. They weren't step forwards, they were step backs. And they required relocations to cities I have no interest in living in, with connecting flights that I would be tortured by leaving my family. But I felt I had a responsibility to do those, go on that journey. And then around Christmas, I was working with my coach, and I was literally sad about getting one of these job offers. And she encouraged me to just hit reset and be patient and almost start over. And I did. And I got a great job, and I'm happy and proud of it. And it's really, I think, partially just stepping back and not falling into the vortex of wanting a job right when it presents itself. Any job necessary is not the answer. What I found to be very interesting about my coach right out of the gate was her networking abilities. One of the stops on the train is that you immediately, this person is willing to connect you with all of their networking connections. And I was not only impressed with the desire to allow me that kind of access, but the immediate response of the people that she asked to speak to me. I mean, within hours, they would respond, and I've met with them in other cities. One of them talked to me about franchising. I mean, I've got a wealth of information about new industries. And so I am excited to kind of pay it forward in a way and be that resource for someone else. I feel honestly kind of honored to be in that group, because those people were so unbelievably responsive to me. And And I did learn a lot from my coach about networking in general. I mean, as I have kids, and I may not have kept that at the forefront of what makes you a good sort of balanced executive. And I was reminded that in times like this, you really do need your network. And so even just the learning of that was a value to me, but I definitely want to be a resource to other people. I want to explain to people the value of partaking in a process like this so that you can get to the other end effectively. And I'm grateful. I really am grateful. That's why I'm here today. I'm grateful at the service I was provided. And I still feel grateful to the company that essentially, phased out my role. I still feel grateful to them for letting me be a part of this process, because it really did help. It not only helped, but it helped change my life and see myself in a new way as a professional. I think if you've made it to the point in your career that you're considered a member of the C-suite or a senior executive, you have a level of confidence in what you've accomplished. And when you are in a position where you're changing your job, you may not want to admit you're also incredibly insecure about that process. And so what I found working with Right Management was it really did help structure that process. You learn things about yourself. I went through it with a bunch of other executives that were my former colleagues. Not only did many end up in great new industries, but we all really enjoyed the process. We learned about ourselves. We compared notes. We helped network with each other once we were kind of introduced to new people and new industries. And that all was invaluable and something none of us would have predicted during that first meeting with the Right Management team. We kind of all went on the journey because we felt we should, and we were right. But we really didn't know all the learnings until we were on the other side of it. And many of us kind of ended up in great new places because of it. So if I had a piece of advice, if you work at a company and you're offered Right Management services, I would say dive in, do it. It's definitely an insecure time. Whether you want to admit it or not, you're feeling a lot of insecurities or a little overwhelmed. But if you don't take the first step, you'll never kind of go through the accurate discovery of where you could end up at the end of this process. And I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about the employment process, and I really enjoyed it, even at the times where it felt a little uncomfortable. So I would say, really, don't miss the opportunity to take advantage of this process.